You're watching Money Talk Viewpoint, and I'm Chantel Leeson. Successful businesses have one thing in common: it is the right clients, prospects, and customers. And before I get started, now I want to introduce my entire group. AK Pandy's in the background. You won't see him, but he's going to tell us how much time we have left, because when you're having fun, you run out of time. Stuart Cruz is my co-host, and my guest speaker is Jason Mine, and he'll be the last one I'll introduce. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for being here today, particularly those of you who are with schools, high schools, and colleges who are looking to move your children forward into a very successful life and very successful career. Thank you for being with us. Now let me introduce my co-host, Stuart Cruz. Stuart is a chartered financial analyst. He's a quant investment advisor, a TEDx speaker, a published author. Stuart is also a venture capitalist and is a CFO for Virtual Family Office. Stuart, thanks for being part of our team.
Thanks for having me, Chantel. Sounds like that introduction is more than I deserve, but I appreciate it.
No, I think you're a great guy. You know, I want you to tell the audience the difference in a family office and a virtual family office.
Yeah, great question. So a family office, I'm sure you're aware, the concept came, I believe it started with the Rockefellers. And what it is when somebody has, or a family has so much money, they can afford to hire a team of financial professionals like myself, CPAs, estate planning lawyers, tax mitigation specialists that are on their staff that can help basically reach their financial potential, right? But most of the people don't have that kind of wealth, because you can imagine with that staff on board, and somebody, if you're looking for the best of the best, you could really have a multiple million dollar cost per year. So in order for you to justify that cost, you should probably have in the neighborhood of 300, 500 million or more to actually have a real family office that is working as a team on your assets to make your assets work as efficiently as possible. Now, I don't know about your clients, but I don't have a stable full of those kind of clients. They don't have their own family office. My clients are millionaires, but they usually don't feel like they have enough money to, just retire and hire somebody full time. But most of my clients need some of those services some of the time. So that's where a virtual family office steps in. You can be proactive and give them the family office services that they would enjoy if they had their own family office, but certainly not at that same cost, and pretty much at their desire and an as needed basis.
Okay. I want to ask one other question. How does that differ from just a financial advisor in private wealth management? Can you share that with the audience? Because a lot of people go to a private wealth management practice. You and I both work for major firms, and that's not the same as a family office advisor. Can you share the difference in that? Sure.
And the distinction is really important. And I'll even tell you, for the first, call it 15 years of my career as a wealth advisor, of course, you want to service the clients in the best way possible. And I worked in those big bank environments before. But the compliance is such that they need to make sure that the firm isn't doing anything wrong. So a wealth advisor generally works in their own silo and in their own eco center to the extent that their company will allow them. So I know whenever I had a client and they were asking me advice on, let's say, insurance, which I don't sell. I'm actually licensed to sell insurance, but don't sell insurance. But I know I would get protective of my client's assets and start to talk, maybe not in the best proactive way for my clients, but how can I protect my own relationship with my client? And then when he's bringing the CPA in to discuss ideas, well, I wasn't allowed to have conversations with the CPA. I could, of course, give them tax documents, but in those large environments, you're just not allowed to have these deep dialogues and discussions about what's the best way to optimize my client's financial future, because a lot of times it doesn't involve the company you're working with, whether you're at a big bank or something. So with a virtual family office, that you flip the script, you go out of your way to be proactive and form a team. So you work proactively with the CPA and the client's other experts, whether they have estate planners that they have on board. And let's just say, by way of example, they have a bunch of real estate. When I was at a big bank, I couldn't recommend tax mitigation strategies or cost segregation or anything along those lines. But what we do now in a virtual family office is we proactively look for opportunities. We bring the CPA into the conversation. We bring in an expert as needed. So let's say it's cost segregation. You bring him in, you make as a team working together. And you can imagine, pick a sport. You work better as a team, not as individuals, right? Individuals trying to be superstars. You work better as a team. So the team comes together, presents the idea to the client. The client decides whether it's appropriate for them or not. And then you proceed with that solution as a group and as a team.
Okay, I think it's important for the audience to know, because some of them have the capability to have a private virtual family office, but aren't aware. And with that being said, I'm going to move to my special guest for the afternoon for today. And this is Jason Ma. Jason's the CEO and chief mentor for his award-winning family business 3EQ. It is a premier education business and family office advisory service. Jason has successfully counseled and coached with well-being one-on-one hundreds of students who've been accepted into the Ivy League schools as well as the elite universities in the US and in the UK. Stuart?
Jason is the author of the critically acclaimed book, Young Leaders 3.0, Stories, Insights, and Tips for Next Generation Achievers. He's formerly the Forbes contributor on mentoring young leaders for elite college admissions, higher education, leadership, and entrepreneurial success. Jason is a member of the B20, the official G20 Dialogue Forum with global business community, serving on the Future of Work and Education Task Force.
Jason is also recognized as the chief mentor and next generation leader by the CEO magazine, Family Office magazine, Impact Wealth magazine, numerous family circle summits, and CEO circles. And Jason is a sought after keynote speaker. I'm honored to have you. Jason, thank you for joining us today.
Well, it's such a pleasure and honor to be here as well. I think, Chantal, you meant some family office circle. So absolutely. I'm happy to contribute and inspire in this talk. So far away.
You know, I want to start by asking you, can you share with the audience what you do? I'm going to put you on speaker view, so it'll just be you on scene here. Yeah, where we go.
Okay, very briefly, I run two companies. I'm building co-building another very exciting tech company. And then the other company is really my family office that you folks have kindly introduced. That's my take. That's my take, in my opinion.
Sounds good. It sounds like, and I think you might have said this, but it sounds like you're almost installing a new operating system on top of these kids so that they're just running better and more efficient. Is that what you would say?
I would say not installing a new operating system. It's optimizing their operating system. It's optimizing their mindset, their soft skills on top of the hard skills. Soft skills stick with you forever. Hard skills could get obsolete in a couple of years. It is what it is. The world is very turbulent and ever-changing. The work world is very competitive, okay? And you want to get into Google? By the way, it's a miracle my daughter got Google. Laszlo Bach, the former senior vice president for people operations, HR for Google, he said it's 25 times harder to get into Google than to get into Harvard as a freshman. He wasn't kidding you, okay? Now it's more like maybe 15 times. Google hires only 0.25%, 1 out of 400 applications. Think about that. Okay, Harvard admits less than 1 out of 20.
So did they only hire Ivy Leagues out of Google?
No. I remember back in 2003, back in 2003, I met with an independent board director at Google and also met some of my high-level senior executive friends in Google. I actually interviewed for the position. Lo and behold, he told me, Jason, we need to hire a VP for Asia Pacific for Google. I said, sure, I raised my hand. And ended up they hiring someone better than me, right? I said, we need some help in China, other places here. But along the way, I met a lot of people and I learned. Back then, about, was it 19 years ago? Google hired only from 15 schools way back then. But today, they're very open. They hire from everyone. They just want to get the best candidates, okay? So different thing. There's separate subject.
I want to ask a question about your 3EQ, your mentoring and coaching program, because we have people in the audience here who are on the boards of different private schools and some of the public schools. Can you tell them what makes your program, your coaching program, different from some of the other programs that people see out there?
Sure. When it comes to, because the media and all the conditioning the media does, and then all the college consultants, all they talk about is really college admissions. You read articles all the time, right? The worst is Operation Varsity Blue, right? Rick Singer, the crook, right? That in fact some parents are unfortunately in jail for doing things that are very unethical.
Right.
I even wrote a Forbes article 10 years ago about college application cheating is a learning moment for China or something like that. That was not my headline. The Forbes managing editor, he had more creative, provocative headlines, right? I even wrote an article called When to Say No to Harvard. Harvard didn't like that, by the way. One of the guys wrote me and said, I don't like that. But it's really about, I talked about the difference between research universities and liberal arts colleges and all the controversial BS rankings out there. Because people don't read the methodologies. But when you understand the methodologies, you go, oh my God, what a joke that is, right? I respect all of them because they're just commercial operations. Way back then, China even thought the US news and reports were an official government document. They're not. It's just a for-profit commercial operation. I respect them tremendously. I use that as well as one input, but under my own discernment, right? I think going back to your question again. What's your question again, Chantal?
What makes your 3EQ
coaching? Okay, right. So it's actually very simple. In addition to, because this audience is more, I guess, parents with high school kids and maybe college transfer kids, right? Of course, college counseling, okay? Because most high net worth, ultra net worth parents, right, want kids to go to the best schools. Obviously, same here, okay? And I got, in fact, of all the Ivies, I got the most kids admitted to Harvard and Penn and Cornell. Of course, Princeton, Columbia, Dartmouth, Brown, Cornell, and all other schools, right? And absolutely, go real deep in college process, planning, application, admissions, right? But I won't have time to explain in this talk, but I encourage you to go to 3EQ.com, THREEEQ.com. Just go to the high schoolers page. It's pretty detailed there in terms of methodology and all that. So college counseling. But on top of that, but integrated with the college process in high school is, once again, my 4S and 3Q one-on-one mentorship coaching framework. Okay. You integrate that and, raise your visionary story, your character, okay, your belief system, okay, empowering beliefs, not limiting beliefs, okay, not kind of longer term, lifelong impact thinking, in addition to short-term goal achievements, right? Of course, right? Short-term, medium-term goal achievements, college admissions, but build a strong foundation in your rising skyscraper so that you do well, more efficiently, more resourcefully, with more fun, more joy, better peace of mind, better relationship. And that's where the 4S and 3Q model comes in. Visionary story, state of mind management, strategies, soft skills on top of hard skills, execution, getting things done. I literally guide and, if not, kind of make my students execute. And then also hone the execution skills, right? Because once you're working, if you don't execute, you're fired. It's that simple.
Right.
You go to Harvard, you go to Wharton, all right, then the employer on average believe that you are smarter than a lot of other kids. The doors are open to you. But once you get in, you better perform with good conduct. If you don't perform with good conduct, you're fired. It's that simple. All employers care about, and I could tell you one of the line items in the policy recs we provide to the presidents and prime ministers and the governments in the G20. We get the attention, by the way, at the B20, G20, okay, is really employable skills. That's what employers care about, right? That you better perform. If I don't care if you graduate from Stanford, you don't perform, you're an asshole, then you're out, okay? We'll be compassionate escorting you out, but we're going to fire quickly. That's what smart employers do. Smart employers hire carefully, but fire quickly. Separate topic, okay? So 3Q, pragmatic, emotional, social leadership intelligence. That's what I do, right? Everything's integrated. It's an integrated process. So I call it integrated outcomes, short, medium, long term, lifelong impact higher, with better relationships in family, around you, in community, in school, in employers, internship, and jobs later, nonprofits, if that's what you want, and peace of mind. At the end of the day, in a family, especially for parents, what they really look for is really peace of mind, especially for the very wealthy families.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up another thing. And I've asked this in the past. It's the B20 and the G20 and the impact that has on businesses going forward. Because a lot of the people coming out of these elite schools, they climb the corporate ladder and want to go off into their own business. It's important to know what the terrain looks like going forward. Can you share that with our audience?
That's an absolute separate topic. The G20, B20 this year is especially interesting, as you can imagine. The Russian war,
Yeah.
the turbulence, the deteriorating relation with China. I'm going to be there, by the way, in Bali in a month and a half. It's crazy, right? So the B20 summit leading to the G20 leaders summit, everyone's going to be there. So the Prime Minister of India is going to speak in our summit because we're handing off from Indonesia to India next year. And I've been through Australia, Turkey, China, Germany, Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Italy, this year's Indonesia. Post-COVID, finally, we could get together physically. So I'm very excited. So that part of Bali is going to be pretty blocked off, right? I would say for employers, for CEOs, for senior executives, for family office executives, for principals of family offices, for you very successful investors and company builders out there, really take care of your own health, mindset, your own spirit. Really take care of your next gen. Okay. Don't wait too long. Really get trusted third-party, top-notch mentorship. I'm not kidding you, because that is a secret sauce right there. I could tell you, I'm not patting myself on the back here, but I'm just speaking from over 20,000 hours of success pattern recognition, and then patterns that don't work. And I see so many of the same mistakes made by so many families all the time. They're not my clients. I keep my mouth shut. Hint, hint.
Okay. Makes sense.
And then the business part, that's a separate topic. We don't have time for that. So
yeah, we had about 15 minutes. So
we do. Oh,
yeah.
we're extending the talk.
We extended because I think the audience loves what they're hearing. So
sure. Okay.
Yeah, about 12 minutes.
Sure. Okay. Happy to go deeper in whatever you want to go for. So far, we talked a bit about, not all, about high school kids and college prep and, kind of life coaching, career coaching, leadership coaching, blah, 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 integrated with a college process coaching. And if you'd like to go deeper in that or whatever.
Here's what I wanted to ask about. Soft skills. Because I think that we see that's not very important in the work world, and yet it is very important. But how does it affect the students from university level and into their life and on all the way through there? And like I'm going to call it the Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett lifestyle, because these guys, they love what they do, and they should have retired based on most people's business model years back, 30 years back. But when you retire at 65 years old, that's a 30-year window that's gone to. Well, I mean, if you just want a garden, okay, fine. But I mean, skills you love.
Absolutely. Warren Buffett's about 92 now. The guy rocks, man, sharp as a tack, right? Charlie Munger, 98. The guy's 98, man. I love these guys. I want to give him a big fat hug, right? And here's one example. I got hundreds of examples to throw at you. My younger daughter, for example, Lydia, she interned at Slack 2 summers in a row. It's very important for you to build employable skills, right? So, for example, one of my high school students, in the old days, years and years ago, I used to guide them for, your junior to senior year summer, sophomore to junior summer in high school, get into these highly competitive, good-looking summer camps, right? RSI or Simmer Medical or LBW in Wharton or something like that, right? But these days, I tend to like to guide students to get into a real working internship because you learn so much more. And then you beef up your soft skills and your hard skills. And it also deepens your story as well. And then I see it over and over again. And then your resume starts building sooner, you see. It's like compound interest. Because once again, employers, Yeah, you went to top school. I'm assuming that you're smarter than a lot of kids, but they're looking for employable skills. And these employable skills, it's not like an overnight thing. Okay, read my articles, right? The latest article I wrote, it's preparing your children for college admissions, career, life, leadership, success with well-being. Okay, just go to my website, and I talk about these things. So it's you start early, stress less, and you gain a lot more with more efficiency, with more joy, right? Less stress, less anxiety, more peace of mind. So build employable skills. If there's one tip that I give you right early on, right?
Start early. So my kids are, as you mentioned, are in 6th grade, right? So you said that's the article you wrote, start applying or thinking about college in 6th grade. So what would be the number one thing? Like my daughter started a lemonade stand. She opened it up, sold cookies. She made like $500 on the street corner, just the other selling cookies in a lemonade stand. So what would you think would be the number one thing that my 6th graders should do to start that first step on that journey?
Now, that said, that does not apply to some kids. Some kids like to go straight to grad school and go to med school and go to law school. Those are a little bit different, right? But at the same time, you still want to build employable skills, because through the process, you're going to get into residency. You're going to have to work with people, work with other hospitals, and then an intern at a law firm. Those are employable skills. Okay, everything's got to be employable. It's got to be scalable. Okay, one example for you: my younger daughter. I forgot to say that. So she interned at Slack twice, and then first time she was a value realization internship, some technical marketing, some kind of homing product optimization. Second time, lo and behold, she's a Wharton kid, which is business school, but she got into a software engineering internship, which is very unusual for Wharton. Okay, Wharton, MIT, Stanford, Harvard is hyper competitive. You know that, right? So the Wharton kids are a little bit they're pretty intense, and then so she did so well that she did a full stack project on her own, even though she did not take tons and tons of CS courses. But they have shaped, partially in the beginning by mentorship, they have learned to build real strong learnability, the ability to learn complex things very quickly and process it. Okay, that integrates the ability to focus, their capacity, their mental, their emotional. So a lot of things are involved in the 4S and 3Q, right? And then so did a full stack project and really rocked and then presented her project before she left the internship to hundreds of people online in Slack, including C-suites and senior executives, peers, and all that. And people jaws dropped. Why? The kid could communicate. She could communicate so well, and the kids got leadership chops, right? And it's like, man. And then ended up she's got C-suites. People who wanted to mentor her. They raised their hand, and because a lot of the older folks with gray hair, like me, you and me, I'm actually a tail end boomer. I know I look like I just graduated high school. It's my favorite bad joke, right? But so I bring the energy like a Gen Z, but the wisdom like a boomer, right? Boomer actually rules the world. You guys know that 65, $70 trillion of wealth are going to be transferred over the next 2-3 decades. I wrote an article about that. You should read that. The Art of Mentoring Next Gen and Succession Planning. It's on my website. Okay. And then most of the wealth, it's really boomers' wealth. Okay. Boomers, only tens of millions in the United States. We actually control 1/7 of the wealth in the world. FYI. Separate topic. Okay. So going back to Lydia, communications skills, leadership skills, right? Her 3 EQ. And is she perfect in the rest of her skills? No, not yet. She's just a kid. She's only 22 right now. But is she scalable? Absolutely. Right. So yeah, just like so keep kind of honing these soft skills while building the story, even in middle school. Middle school, I would say get into a real strong reading habit. That's the most important skill to build. Just be real good readers. Okay, you read fiction, nonfiction. And kind of, and I coach and mentor my kids, myself included. I think learning or applied to research means deep learning on subjects you really like, right? Applied research to me is like pure entertainment. It is so fun. I love to learn. And that's part of how I instill, that's part of the values, the principles I instill into my students, right? That's part of the foundation, easy.
Yeah. What do you think about travel? So last month we spent a month. Our family went to Italy and Greece for a month. A couple of years pre-COVID, we were in Costa Rica. How do you think that affects the child's kind of growth pattern?
It's great. Travel. When you travel, I myself, I travel somewhere between 2 to 3 million miles. I lost track over the past 5 decades, right? 5+ decades, and it's a real eye opener because so much cultures to learn, so much stuff that is refreshing, so exciting. Then you get more compassionate, more empathetic towards other people. It's part of the D&I equation. It's part of a diversity inclusion equation. Even in the Bible, okay, in the book of Revelation, over 7 times you talk about the diversity of race, tribe, languages, nations, okay? And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But when you travel as a family, parents and students, don't just be tourists, please. Be very curious in learning, right? And connecting, talk to locals. Okay, that's my encouragement. Of course, have fun, right?
Yeah.
And our daughter, we traveled quite a bit, and our daughter's been in many, many countries. And one thing she did, we had her interview people in key positions. I mean, she interviewed the last living person from the Crimean War in Russia when they were in Moscow. She interviewed someone from the Tower London Bridge in London. She interviewed we do this as a habit. We incorporate her into sort of beyond just all the fancy things you do when you're touring as a tourist. But that leaves an impact on her brain, and she has a log of all the conversations that she's had.
That's wonderful.
Skill.
Wonderful.
We've got about 5 minutes left. I want to recommend anyone who's interested in being on our show as a speaker. Go to moneytalkviewpoint.org. Our next show the next show for Family Office is going to be the first Thursday in November. That's November 3rd. We have an upcoming show October the 20th. That's going to be our family-owned and entrepreneur show. And let's see. That's about all I have to say for now. We got about a few minutes left. Keep going, Jason. I know people are loving this.
Sure. We have any additional questions? Happy to answer from audience, from you guys.
Yeah. Were there any questions in chat that didn't get answered?
I think we forgot to turn that box on.
Right.
But most important thing is how can they reach out to you? Both of you, Stuart, I know you're going to be on the show every month, but Jason, how can they reach out to you? Because particularly for the parents in the audience who have students preparing to go to college.
And I know that during work time, a lot of people that like to come cannot make it, right? That's good that you're going to have a recording to send to other people because that vast majority of people cannot make live shows. I know that.
Right.
And just go to 3q.com. That's it. Everything's there. My email is there. The actionable insights and tips there is like very, very wealthy. Okay, it's a wealth of it. You have to spell it out, THREEEQ.com. Just go to the website. Everything's there. So you could browse the high schoolers page, browse the study the high schoolers page, and feel free to reach out to me. Study the young adults page if you got young adults, or study the middle schoolers page, if you got middle schoolers. And then one of my latest students is actually a famous family office CEO in her 40s, right? I also coach and mentor middle-aged successful people. Their goals are a little bit different, as you can imagine. Their goals is not about college admissions. Their goal is more about, career, business, personal success. Okay, give that family also how to be a better parent. I literally have very successful, powerful parents. They say, Jason, teach me to be a better parent. Privately, right? But they always say that don't reveal that you're my mentor, you're my secret weapon. Almost all my clients just want to keep it real secret. Jason, keep it very private. You're a secret weapon, right? It's one-on-one.
My wife and I have date night tonight, and I have a feeling, even though we have a no phones at the table rule, we might be looking up your website and discussing it this evening.
Yeah, there's so much stuff in there. There's so much content. In fact, I hear of some people that, oh my God, so much content, it's overwhelming. I said, you're not thinking. Just pick things you like to read, and that's it. Okay, keep things very simple.
That's the bottom line, isn't it?
Keep it simple, relevant to you.
Okay, we've got about 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Anything else you guys want to add before we pop off the air here? Stuart, tell them how to reach out to you. Stuart will be on the show every month, but for someone who's looking to meet with a virtual family office person, how can they reach out to you?
Again, same thing on my website. They can reach me at cruiseassetmanagement.com, and that's KRUSE assetmanagement.com. I'm on LinkedIn, same place, Cruise AM, and that's probably the best way to reach out to me.
Okay, and AK's in the background. I know he's not going to pop back up, but he's our marketing specialist. He does all this background information for us. I look forward to seeing all of you next month. I think it's November 3rd. And for those of you who are interested in family-owned businesses and entrepreneurs, that is going to be October the 20th. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. And Halloween is in a couple of weeks. I know my door is going to be full of kids. I've got my pumpkins outdoors already. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Jason, thank you so much again.
It was a pleasure and honor.